Welcome back to Geek Channel 8. I'm Eric.
And I'm Will.
And today we have got more Jurassic World dinosaur stuff. You're shocked, I'm sure. But also, in addition to that, we've got some more non-Jurassic World dinosaur stuff. So there's going to be more dinos to go around. Last night, I went to see a film on the big screen. It takes place in the 1930s called Sinners.
Hell yeah.
It had the one location standoff thing.
Mm.
There were some reminiscent of Dead and Breakfast in this, where there's the bed and breakfast is surrounded by the
Yeah.
undead. There's some reminiscent of the titty twister from Dusk Till Dawn.
That's the one, yeah.
The one location standoff vampire film is always a hit for me. The music was excellent. I love Delta Blues. It's set in the Mississippi Delta. My one criticism about that is that the music was a little overproduced for Delta Blues, in my opinion. It should have been a little raw. And then also, big spoiler here. So if you guys don't want to know about this, like skip ahead by about 2 minutes. But there is a scene afterwards, like the next day, where Smoke basically takes on the KKK, which is a little bit reminiscent of like similar things in, I don't know, Django Unchained or something like that, or because everybody likes to see the Klan get offed. Like that's like a perennial hit. It's just like Nazis, right? It's
yes,
like,
no, I was totally thinking about like what's the other Tarantino, the one where they're killing Nazis and
yeah, Inglorious Bastards.
yeah.
So it's got that fan service. It's like, yes, but my only problem with that is it's kind of anticlimactic after you fought vampires, right? So I thought it would be better if they had put that section earlier in the movie. That was my only real criticism about it. Otherwise, it was awesome.
Yeah. When I pitch it, what I say is this movie, I felt fear, right, and dread, and that had nothing to do with the vampires. These different things that were going on there. There was all this different tensions. Okay, and probably the best thing I've heard is that this is probably supposed to be one of three. That'd be amazing.
I also got to give a shout out to my homegirl, Hannah Beekler, who I worked at a pizzeria with. She was the production designer. She's also been the production designer for like Creed, and I think she won an Academy Award for production design on Black Panther. Wow. I guess if you got a Michael B. Jordan film, she's the production designer.
Right on. He's got his crew, doesn't he? I mean, like between the director crew, I mean, I love it, man. They're cooking. I have not actually seen the Creed stuff, but this makes me want to be like, okay, yeah. Between that and the Black Panther movies, I'm like, okay.
It is definitely Rocky.
Right.
In the mold of Rocky. So if you like that formula, you'll like it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Black Panther movie sort of broke the superhero mold a little bit, and this definitely breaks the vampire mold a little bit. Yeah. Creed is like right in the mold, right? So anyway, we can talk more about those movies another time. We are not here to discuss Sinners. We are here to discuss dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs!
Let's talk a little bit about this next short film, Jurassic World Dominion, the Prologue. So the Prologue is a 5-minute short film released in 2021 as a preview for the movie Jurassic World Dominion. It's the second live-action short in the franchise after Battle at Big Rock, which we talked about last episode. It has basically two parts: a prehistoric sequence set in the Cretaceous period showing dinosaurs in their natural habitat, and a modern-day sequence set in California where a T-Rex disrupts a drive-in movie theater. It was originally intended as the opening of Dominion, and the footage was cut due to runtime, but it was then restored in the film's extended version. It was released online on November 23rd, 2021, following a limited IMAX debut in June 2021 with F9. I don't know why they keep releasing these shorts with Fast and Furious movies, but apparently it's a natural, like, these are our two big franchises, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's like boys like dinosaurs and fast cars. I don't know what. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Colin Trevorrow directed it again. And again, Colin Trevorrow and Emily Carmichael wrote the script. Michael Giacchino was the composer. Giacchino, I don't know how you pronounce his name. I've said it before. The visual effects were done by Industrial Light and Magic. The prehistoric segment was filmed on the island of Socotra off the coast of Yemen using a second unit crew. And the drive-in sequence was shot in England at Hawley Common and Minley Woods over 3 days in March of 2020, with the helicopter footage shot on the final night.
Huh. Okay.
Trevorrow had wanted for a long time to show dinosaurs in prehistoric settings, which the franchise had never done before. We'd only seen them in the modern world.
Right.
So that was one of his goals, to show dinosaurs in their natural time and place. The Cretaceous scenes were storyboarded by Glenn McIntosh, who had been at ILM. So they call it Giganotosaurus. I've always thought it was Giganotosaurus because it's huge, but apparently it's Giganotosaurus. It basically battles a T-Rex in this, which was inspired by nature documentaries. They kept it short because real world predator prey conflicts tend to be short. There was a lot of focus on using warm amber lighting to make things feel alive. There were two paleontologists involved in scientific consultation on this. One is Jack Horner, who we've talked about for a long time. He's the longtime Jurassic Park paleontologist, and also Steve Brusatte. I'm sorry, Steve, wherever you are. Again, I don't know how to pronounce your name. So for the first time in the series, we see feathered dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So they're actually keeping up with the scientific progress of how dinosaurs are depicted, which is always a good thing. One of the species featured was Moros intrepidus, which is a small tyrannosaur that was first described in 2019. And Trevorrow highlighted the chance to depict paleontologically accurate dinosaurs, unlike genetically engineered versions from earlier films. So they have the great hand wave for why dinosaurs don't look like science says they should look now that we know it, which is, these aren't dinosaurs. These are genetically engineered dinosaurs that use some DNA from other species, and that's why they didn't have feathers in the earlier
Hey,
episodes, you know?
bro, for real though, like we have the quote dire wolves that apparently don't actually look like dire wolves. Part of that was, we don't have the DNA, and part of it was marketing. So, life imitates art, imitates life, right? So,
Yep. The T-Rex shown is the same individual from Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, which is now depicted as a clone descendant of the original. The early part of the movie, the prehistoric battle, sets up a rivalry in the main film between T-Rex and Giganotosaurus. And Trevorrow transitioned quickly from T-Rex's apparent death in the past to its modern version to avoid traumatizing children. Because, yeah, apparently, you can kill all the humans you want, but you can't kill the T-Rex,
right? I mean, that's my boo, right?
There was a big delay here due to COVID-19. So they wanted to release something to sort of keep the franchise alive. They knew this movie was coming. It was just going to take longer than usual. So they released. This is partially from what I've read and partially me connecting the dots here and sort of making some assumptions. But I believe what their goal here was, like, let's get this out there so that we can keep the buzz going for Jurassic World Dominion. The IMAX version of this had some extra scenes, including a Gallimimus in a neighborhood, a Mosasaurus attacking a fishing boat, and an alternate view of the Allosaurus attack from Battle at Big Rock. It got positive reviews. The main criticism it got, and considering it had two paleontologists, I'm surprised at this, but there was the outdated portrayal of the Oviraptor as an egg eater, which they now think was not the case. It was even in the name Oviraptor, right? They used to
Right.
think they were egg stealing. They did say the Gigantosaurus T-Rex battle in the past wouldn't have happened because of geographical and temporal differences. They weren't ever in the same place at the
Like
same time
same
on the
time.
planet, but
So for the first time, they're depicting them in the past, and yet we're just going to wave our hands anyway. And you know what? Whatever. It's fine. It's for fun.
now there were some people that disagreed that said that it could happen. One was a reporter, Riley Black for Slate, who said that it was creative license and that the fossil record is offers diverse interpretations. And there was a paleontologist, Joe Bonsor, who considers the depictions mostly accurate or at least plausible.
Hmm.
So there's, this is not settled science here. You ready to jump into this?
Yeah.
So it's got this prehistoric segment takes place 65 million years ago during the Cretaceous, and it depicts these in their natural habitats, including Dreadnoughtus trudging through a lake, Quetzalcoatlus and Pteranodon scavenging on corpses, an Ankylosaurus drinking from a watering hole, Oviraptor stealing eggs, Pseudoceratops wading across a river, and a Moros and Giganosaurus in a symbiotic relationship. Basically, it's eating the food out of its teeth, kind of the way birds do with
Yeah.
crocodiles. The prehistoric segment ends in a showdown between Giganosaurus and a partly feathered Tyrannosaurus Rex. So now T Rex has feathers. This almost made Dino Battle of the Week, but
But
not quite. This was a contender, but did not make it. A nearby iguanodon flees the area while the two carnivores battle, with Giganosaurus killing the Tyrannosaurus. So basically, the winner here, Giganosaurus. Then a mosquito sucks the blood from the Tyrannosaurus, setting up the whole franchise's
yeah.
premise, in which ancient DNA is recovered by a mosquito trapped in amber. Then it skips to the present day, Northern California, where the original Jurassic Park T Rex is being pursued by rangers in a helicopter. And the helicopter is part of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. Important note there. She has escaped Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom at the end of that movie. And she flees and enters the drive-in theater area and basically wreaks havoc trying to evade the helicopter, and a ranger eventually tries to tranquilize her, but she escapes off in the woods. That's basically the story here. So a couple of things that I wanted to note. Here's the drive-in movies that we're showing. There were American Graffiti and Flash Gordon. Now, given that Flash Gordon is the inspiration for Star Wars by George Lucas, and American Graffiti is a George Lucas film, I
Yeah.
think this was his tip of the hat to Lucas. ILM does do the dinosaur effects. So famously, Spielberg and Lucas are good friends.
Yeah.
My guess is they probably wanted to do Star Wars or something, but it may be that it was tied up. They didn't want to advertise for Disney now owns Star Wars or something. That's my guess of why they used Flash Gordon instead, but there we go.
It took me back. I'm like, wow, a drive-in. Where did they find one? Literally, there's people making out in the car while the dinosaur shows up. It has a certain flavor, and I think the movies on the screen reflect that.
Yeah, and every time this T-Rex shows up, you get the hero shot where the T-Rex is just like,
Yes.
like it's one of those things where if the T-Rex shows up and that doesn't happen, you're doing Jurassic Park wrong.
All right, so there's this creature being chased through the woods by government agents. I mean, gave me a bully feeling. There's all this stuff where I'm like, okay, it was a great teaser. It made me want more.
One of my favorite parts is when the T-Rex attacks happens to be right at the intermission, and the infamous "Let's all go to the lobby" is playing, which is of course in the public domain, and you hear that played a lot. It's what always gets us a YouTube copyright strike whenever I put these videos up on YouTube, because it's used in so many other things, that such as this, that like the YouTube algorithm says, oh wait, that's from Jurassic World
Ugh.
Dominion's prologue. Like, therefore it's copyrighted, because it's not a human listening to it. I think more often it's like some band uses it in their music. Like they have it in their intro. And so they are credited as holding the copyright incorrectly to this. And
Wow.
whenever I try to dispute it, they just demonetize. And no human ever reviews that crap.
Welcome to our dystopian future. Yes, lovely.
Speaking of let's all go to the lobby, let's hit it.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
All right. So I kind of leaned into this time. It's about indulgence. It's about feeding that fat. We're going to call this dirty pig burgers. Okay. So,
Dirty pig burgers.
yes, maybe funky pig would be better. But regardless, this is gonna be something where it's like this is full on indulgence. And I will tell you what we want to do. First, you get yourself some bacon. I would say the more the better, because to me, bacon is good hot or cold, but you want to make enough bacon so that you have a nice layer of fat when you're done. So we'll just say 6 pieces of bacon, cook those up. You want to slice up some onions, dice them, or make them into thin slices. I prefer diced. Put them in your fat. You might want to remove some of the fat. Just want enough so that you're cooking in basically bacon fat. This is going to be all in on the pig, all in on the fat. Right. So you
Okay.
do that. I like to add a little water and a little baking soda to help them brown up quicker. So you want to brown these, cook those off, set those aside. Both these things are set aside. Next, back with a little bit more of the fat, you take your buns. I say Hawaiian. Those are my favorite potato buns, either Hawaiian or potato, either way. Toast them face down in the fat. Finally, we get to our burgers. Are we going to make beef? No, we are not. You're going to get ground pork because we're going all in on the pig, right?
Okay.
So ground pork, cook those now. The ideal is a griddle, but it doesn't really matter. I'd say I'm assuming you're going on your skillet. Cook those. You're going to get even more fat from that. Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. Pour it off, whatever. But you're cooking your burgers. So you're assembling these burgers. You have your onions. You have your burger. You have your bun, which is nice and crispy.
So basically, let me get this straight. So we're talking ancient dinosaurs. This thing opened like in the prehistoric past. So this is paleo diet approved, right?
Sure, yeah, we'll go with that. Oh yeah, I forget. Yes, of course, you were putting the bacon on the pig burger that has been cooked in pig fat with the onions. And so for me, this is how I would do it. I set a pile of pickles on the side because I love my pickles, but you can add them as much as you want. And the perfect thing if you want an actual quote side dish, two things. One, you could take all of that fat and just get yourself some regular fries or from the freezer and cook them in that fat. That's a little much even to me. I'm not saying I wouldn't eat it. I would totally eat it, but probably a better one that cuts some of the all the fat you're dealing with. Coleslaw. You get a bad
Oh yeah.
coleslaw, right? This is what coleslaw is for.
Are you talking about the vinegary coleslaw? Or are you talking about the mayonnaise
All
coleslaw?
right, so this is how I do it. It's one of my favorite side dishes for almost any meats. I go coleslaw, mix your favorite ranch, okay? Just enough to get it all creamy. Don't go heavy. And then everything but the bagel seasoning to taste.
Ah,
This gives you lots of flavor. You don't have to, mix anything. But you're getting creaminess, flavor. You get your onion, your garlic, all that. Don't go too heavy-handed because it'll be too salty otherwise. Because everything, but that includes salt. And you get all these little poppy seeds in there and all the sesame seeds. Very good. Perfect side. I love coleslaw on a dog. Not big on a burger. It cools it off too much. But ultimately, you are having a ground pork bacon burger topped with onions. For me, I don't even need cheese for this. But if I was going to use cheese, of all things, what I would choose is feta.
interesting.
Yeah, I like that tang. Okay, I think that's great. And it just can go on as you're cooking your burger at the end. Get towards the end, flop that feta on top, cover it until it melts, pull it out. You're good to go. If there was such thing as cheese made from pig milk, I would recommend that. But I don't think there is such a thing
Oh,
because
you can make
that would be
cheese from
weird.
any. kind of milk,
Well, I mean,
right?
yeah, but I think that's one thing pigs won't put up with. Is like, yeah, you're not. No, get away from me. So,
Okay.
hey,
Let me clarify some things. So you're saying you pull it out. So how are you cooking this exactly?
I'm pan frying this. Okay. So, and in at every step, well, most steps, when you are cooking your bacon, you're going to have a lot of fat, and that's important for making sure that your buns are toasted nicely with a little. That's a grilled bun, basically.
Okay, so your buns are grilling.
Well, when I say grilled bun, I'm sorry. Okay, let's put it this way: when you take a little fat, put it in a pan, right?
Yep.
You take your buns and you put them face down. Okay.
Okay.
Some people call it toasting, grilling. I don't know. You are going to get it crunchy and a little brown. The crunchiness and all that's perfect. The backs will still be soft, and you pull them out and you set them aside because you don't have to keep those hot. All the heat comes from the burger. You're going to be laying the burger onto that. You're going to add your onions and your bacon on top of that. So it's big, fat, meaty, mostly pig in your hand, in your face. This is a symbol of the indulgence because that's what I really got from our movies this week. So loved it.
All right, so let's jump in and talk about our next film here. The main course,
Mm.
Jurassic World, the extended version from 2022. So let me give you some background to this. In early conversations about Jurassic World, the movie that came out in 2015, executive producer Steven Spielberg expressed to director Colin Trevorrow his interest in making more Jurassic World films. By April 2014, Trevorrow confirmed that sequels had already been discussed. He emphasized the importance of crafting a story that was not arbitrary or episodic, but one that could form one cohesive trilogy, a second trilogy, a Jurassic World trilogy, with a clear arc and conclusion. Trevorrow said that he already knew where the story would end, but needed to develop the beginning and the middle, and contrasting this new approach with the more episodic nature of the Jurassic Park films. So, like, he didn't like the fact that Jurassic Park films all seemed like separate, like, there's not one coherent story unfolding over a trilogy. He wanted new directors. He cited the franchises Mission Impossible and Star Wars as examples of where a series benefited from different people coming in to direct different installments.
That's a big swing.
Well, not only is it a big swing, it's like giving up a lot of control, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, yeah, I could do this all myself. I have my vision for it. Or you could be like, I gonna start the ball rolling and let other people take over. But still, like, create the whole story. He also wanted the franchise to move away from the theme park thing and explore the broader question of the coexistence of dinosaurs and humans. Emily Carmichael had some of her own ideas she brought to it, as did the cast, particularly Bryce Dallas Howard, who played Claire, had a bunch of ideas for stuff that she wanted her character to do. Trevorrow and Carmichael consulted this list while they were developing the script so that they could, it's not like this was shoehorned in later, like often happens where it's like, okay, and now we've got this big A-list star and they want us to do all this stuff. No, they were still at the writing stage, so they were able to incorporate some of this stuff.
Awesome.
Some of these ideas that made it into the film included the appearance of a baby raptor and a depiction of an underground dinosaur market in Malta.
Yeah.
He envisioned that to be a darker version of the auction that happened in Fallen Kingdom in the mansion.
Yeah.
He described it as, quote, a hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah.
There was also a big decision to put Dr. Sattler, Laura Dern's paleontologist from the original Jurassic Park, at the center of the news story. He consulted with scientists to explore how a paleobotanist might be the first to recognize a global ecological crisis caused by genetic manipulation.
Yeah, that was cool.
They don't admit to this, but this reminded me a lot of Monsanto. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
They do say that one real world inspiration came from DARPA's Insect Allies program, in which genetically modified insects are used to deliver pesticides to crops. And so this led to the creation of the film's central locust plot.
Wow.
So yeah, there's some real stuff here. Throughout the process of writing this, they collaborated with a bunch of other screenwriters from the previous films. They sort of all collaborated to refine the final version of this. He found it a little implausible. This is Trevorrow again. Found it implausible that after 3 decades of technological development within the storyline timeline, Wu would still be the sole person capable of engineering dinosaurs. So he introduced Biosyn Corporation, which actually was in Michael Crichton's original novels, but
Oh, yeah.
absent from the previous film. So everybody remembers InGen, but there was also Biosyn was a rival company at the time. I believe Biosyn might have been, and they hint at this in the movie. Remember in the original one when Newman, like Wayne Knight's character from Jurassic Park. You remember he like tried to smuggle out the dinosaur
Yes.
DNA in the Barbasol can? So the Barbasol can actually makes an appearance in this, right? So I think what they are suggesting is that the people he was selling it to or was planning on selling it to was Biosyn.
Yeah.
Because InGen was the
Yeah.
ones that were working with Hammond and creating the dinosaurs. Never explicitly stated, but it's part of how well thought out this series is at this point in time.
I'm glad you added that last part. I'm like, I'm 100% feeling it. And they even have crossover with characters from the animated.
Yeah. First of all, let's talk about the ones from the original movies because Dr. Alan Grant's back, Dr. Ellie Sattler's back, Dr. Ian Malcolm's back, Dr.
Oh,
Wu
yeah.
is back. You get all of them back in this, but you also get some of the other characters that have been picked up along the way, like Charlotte's daughter. You also get, yeah, as we mentioned, Santos from the animated.
Oh, I think they cast her so well. I mean, I'm like, yeah,
So you, when you saw her live action version, you knew that was her, right?
immediately. It's like, wow, yeah. You've had this feeling before where, you're like, oh, they put that character from the comics into this comic movie. And I didn't know they were going to do that. And that was kind of that same feeling. I'm like, oh, wow. And you got to figure some young people at this point probably started out with the animated series and that was their first exposure and maybe moved into the movies and maybe didn't, but this was their opportunity.
We know the 2 films were made and they decided there was going to be a third and everybody was on board. Chris Pratt, who played Owen, was signed on. The character of Claire would come back with Bryce Dallas Howard. And so in February 2018, Universal announced that Jurassic World 3 would be released on June 11th, 2021. That was when they announced it would be released. As we know, it didn't come out until 2022. So
Yeah.
things happened in between. There's some setbacks here because Chris Pratt, he's now blown up as a big Marvel star. And so he's got other commitments and things like that. And filming for this began in February 19th of 2020.
Ugh.
Now, do you see a problem with that? Do you see a potential problem with beginning your filming in late February, like February 19th of 2020? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For those who don't remember, global pandemic hits the next month. Everything goes into lockdown. So they come to an abrupt halt of filming. During the shutdown, the filmmakers use the time to start post-production on the parts they've already shot. So at least they were smart about that.
Yeah, that was smart.
Particularly stuff involving dinosaurs so that the visual effects team could get a head start. Universal announced that filming would resume in July of 2020 at Pinewood Studios, and they implemented a $5 million health and safety protocol to protect the cast and crew, including thousands of COVID-19 tests, a dedicated medical facility on site, temperature screening stations, over 150 hand sanitizer stations, 1,800 safety signs reminding workers about social distancing and hygiene. Cast and crew were divided into 2 groups, one handling construction and pre-production, and a smaller isolated group that included Trevorrow and the actors and the key crew members. Everyone received a 109-page guide outlining the safety procedures, and mask wearing was mandatory except for the actors during filming. So production did resume on July 6, 2020. They rented out an entire hotel in England to house the cast and crew for the remainder of the shoot to create a protective bubble, right? So they had to
Right.
basically rent an entire hotel. After quarantining for 2 weeks, the actors and staff could move freely within the hotel without distancing. They were tested up to 3 times a week, and Trevorrow noted that living together for 4 months helped build strong relationships among the cast and allowed for deeper character collaboration.
I mean, it could have gone the other way. Like, I am so sick of this guy, but yeah.
The hotel and safety measures added around $9 million to the film's production cost.
Chump change.
As one of the first major Hollywood studio films to resume during the pandemic, Dominion became a model for how large-scale productions could adapt. Universal found it a good movie to do this with because it required very few real-world locations. A lot of green screen, and featured a small primary cast. The main characters from the original film, played by Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum, they started filming their scenes in August of 2020. Then, around this time, 4 crew members in England tested positive for COVID-19. 4 more tested positive on arrival in Malta, where the film was also scheduled to shoot. And then, due to a spike in Maltese cases of COVID-19, the UK imposed a 14-day quarantine on arrivals from Malta, forcing the production to cancel main unit filming in that country. Trevorrow rewrote the Malta scenes to accommodate this change. These sequences were eventually filmed by the second unit under Dan Bradley without the principal actors, so that's why they're not in Malta. Malta shooting began in late August and continued into September, after which they returned to Pinewood Studios. Then this led to challenges with various actor availabilities. So Jake Johnson, who originally was supposed to reprise his role as Lowry, had to exit the project because of travel restrictions. Daniela Pineda, who appeared early in the film, she was meant to return for a later scene, but quarantine restrictions interfered. She was replaced by Verida Sethu, playing a different character.
Wait, is that the pilot?
No. She's like one of the people that broke. Remember the
Oh yeah, no, I remember the first one. She's like a paleo. What is she called? Paleo veterinarian. Yes, that's a thing.
Yeah.
So, well, I was wondering where she went because I'm like, why did you scuttle her?
Her character was essentially replaced by a different character, but filling that same gap, not the pilot. Filming again slowed in October after several people tested positive for COVID-19. They later tested negative, but the film's safety protocols required a 2-week quarantine. So during this next shutdown, the main cast members continued to film secondary scenes before the full production resumed later that month, October. Then they finally wrapped in November after 100 days. Like previous films, Spielberg was sort of involved a little bit, but not a whole lot because COVID-19 protocols prevented him from visiting the set. So the paleontologist Jack Horner returned, and he was joined, as we mentioned, by Steve Brussati. I'm not sure how you say your name, Steve. But Colin Trevorrow wanted to balance the scientific realism with, quote, awesome movie scary. So he wanted to blend those two. He introduced quilled velociraptors, the first appearance of feathered dinosaurs in this series. The way that the series described it is Biosyn has more advanced cloning techniques. So now they're getting closer to like resembling what the dinosaurs really look like, right?
Right.
I love how that works because that totally works both for plot and,
It does. It really is. And it's funny because there's a point in the movie where like are these dinosaurs or are these it's like, or did you just make these things up? It's like, we don't do that sort of thing here. We don't just make up animals out of No, we're not that.
They actually say that in this film, right?
Yeah.
They're like, well, InGen used like frog DNA and stuff like that. We don't do that. These are real dinosaurs, It's like some of the new feathered dinosaurs that appear in this film are the Pyroraptor and Therizinosaurus, as well as a feathered T-Rex in the prologue. They had to, of course, research feather simulation for realism because modeling feathers is not easy in CGI. The film's primary dinosaur antagonist is Giganotosaurus, which Trevorrow had intentionally saved for the trilogy's finale. So he envisioned it as chaotic and destructive, likening it to the Joker from the Batman films, right? This is a direct quote from Trevorrow. It just wants to watch the world burn. Other creatures introduced in Dominion included Dimetrodon, the pre-dinosaur type dinosaur, which I thought that went the way of the Brontosaurus, but apparently it's still around. The Atrociraptor, which was more brutish than the Velociraptors, but we saw them already in Chaos Theory.
Yeah.
So the Dilophosaurus, returning the first time since the original 93 film, the frill dinosaurs, the giant locusts, and this was real too. From back then, there were giant insects. Unlike previous Jurassic World films, Dominion did not feature hybrid dinosaurs because he felt that had narratively run its course.
Well, I think the Atrocioraptors are current, weren't they? I mean,
I guess so.
I'm not sure though. But I feel like this was the outcome from when they were working on the first hybrid dinosaur. And when you make them smaller, but they will still have all those other things, they'll be a badass weapon. But I'm not 100% on that.
Well, the Atrocioraptor is a real dinosaur, though.
Oh, okay. Well, then, oh, wow.
I think it was discovered in the 1990s, so we didn't know that it had existed at the time.
Right.
Trevorrow had a converted barn behind his home in the UK for post-production. Because of the pandemic-related release delay, he had extra time to complete the visual effects and the sound and the score. It's unusual for most major film productions. He was able to preview a near final cut for his friends and Jurassic Park fans to gather and give feedback. So it was a far more audience-involved process than previous films. It was completed November 6th, 2021, 2 hours and 26 minutes. It became the longest entry in the Jurassic Park series, running 2 hours and 40 minutes. The studio expressed concerns about pandemic-era audiences sitting through a film of that length because now everybody's attention span is super short due to the pandemic. So he agreed to trim the theatrical version, but he wanted a future director's cut. So about 14 minutes of footage were removed, including the 5-minute prologue, which we already talked about, the black market fight between an Oviraptor and Lystrosaurus, the confrontation between Ramsey and Dodgson. All this stuff get put back in for this extended cut that we're going to talk about. All right, that is a very long introduction, but it was a very long movie. So let's talk about the actual film here.
I wanted to show them something that wasn't an illusion. Something that was real. Something that they could see and touch. Creation is an act of sheer will. Life will find a way.
We can't keep her here forever.
They find her, we're never gonna see her again. We gotta protect her, that's our job.
Humans and dinosaurs can't coexist. We created an ecological disaster.
Ellie Sattler.
Alan Grant.
You didn't come out all this way just to catch up now, did you?
You coming or what?
racing toward the extinction of our species. We not only lack dominion over nature, we're subordinate to it.
Come back.
I always come back.
That's another plane, right?
Not exactly.
'Don't move. Bigger. Why do they always have to go bigger?
4 years after the estate auction incident that followed the volcanic eruption on Isla Nublar, now the dinosaurs are roaming the earth once again, and there's global efforts to try to control them. In the Dolomite Mountains, Biosyn Genetics has a lost world, essentially. They have like a valley there where the dinosaurs roam free, and they do research on them. Meanwhile, Claire and Zia and Franklin Webb are investigating illegal dinosaur breeding sites. Here we get into the animal cruelty thing we saw in like the second Jurassic Park film, issues of that. Owen Grady is also trying to help relocate stray dinosaurs, but it's challenging because he's trying to keep Maisie Lockwood secret.
Yeah.
In a cabin in the Sierra Nevada mountains.
Very much I'm going to reference an old film. I think it was Hannah was the name of it. There's a secret child produced from some sort of experiment that has to be kept secret in the mountains and cold. So yeah, kind of references that. And as a matter of fact, I think, what does it say? The beginning of like, hey, you know what? That one thing was cool. Let's do that again.
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird that they were like reporting on the news like 37 dinosaur deaths this year. And I'm like, I guess maybe if it was early in the year, but I'm thinking 37, that sounds pretty small.
One of the things that stirs out is that he's on horseback taking down I don't know what kind of dinosaur that was where he's capturing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way. No, there is no freaking way. I'm like, mass is so much more than him and the horse. I'm like, no, but you know what? It was fun. It was a great start.
Dude, cowboys and dinosaurs. Do you not remember Valley of Guanji where they lassoed the T-Rex or the Allosaurus? Yes. Sorry, it was an Allosaurus.
I mean, again, it was like, that was cool. Let's do more of that. And there's more of that in this movie. It keeps going.
He's solo lassoing them, but remember, he's the dinosaur whisperer. So he's able to like calm it down and convince it to.
Yes, he calms it down very much like Crocodile Dundee when he holds his hand out. And I'm just saying, man, they're like, hey, you know what was cool? When that one thing happened, and they keep doing it. So let's go. Let's do more of this.
A lot of the early stuff is revealed in news reports, including the battle at Big Rock. We see that a little clip from that short appear here, but also there's like a news poll like you often see on like, I don't know, Fox News or something. And then they're like, what do we do? And like, there's like destroy the dinosaurs or whatever. I don't know, but there's like 7% say rebuild Jurassic Park. Who are these 7% that think that that's a good idea?
Say I was going there. You should totally rebuild it though, because that'll be hilarious.
All right. So now we also find out that Blue has a baby.
Yeah.
I don't know how this happened, but Blue is also in the Sierra Nevada mountains, nesting somewhere nearby Owen. Maybe it followed him there.
I'm assuming he smuggled her there. That's the same. However they got there and got a whole kid there. That's how they did it.
Blue now has a baby, and that is evidence of asexual reproducing. Maisie names it Beta. Maisie's now 14 years old and she's like getting sick of like being kept in captivity, and she tries to sneak away to town, and
Right. Yeah.
keeping her there for her own good doesn't really work because she is eventually spotted.
The poacher who takes the dinosaur off of him, he's working with Fish and Wildlife, and those guys pretend like they are, but they're not. So there's a showdown, and instead of fighting, he's like, "All right, just take it." And they're like, "Wow, I can't believe you stood down from a fight." He's like, "I got something to protect." So you see how important she is to him later, because that's what he has to protect. But later, that same crew follow him, find out about Blue, and they find out about the kid. So he should have just shot him.
Moral of the story. Meanwhile, they're giant locust swarms. And by that, I mean, I don't mean the swarms are big. I mean, the locusts are big.
Yeah, they are huge.
There are swarms of giant locusts that are decimating crops in the US. And Laura Dern's character, Dr. Sattler, is like investigating this, I think in West Texas. That's where she discovered that the next field over, which has biosyn seeds for its crops, are unaffected. Now, this to me reminds me of a direct jab at Monsanto.
Oh, yeah.
Those of you who aren't familiar with it, you can look up seed cleaning and Monsanto, and it's a thing. This I totally bought into. This part of this, I'm like, yep, they would do that. They would totally do that. I wasn't so sure about like using giant locusts to spread genetic material. I wasn't sure about that. That seemed a little bit off to me, but it turns out that part's real. Like
Right?
that part actually is, as we heard.
All right. I'm like, oh, it's a little iffy. Nope. That's that's a thing. We thought of that already.
She's a botanist, remember? So she's interested in the crops. She doesn't know too much about paleo animals, paleo fauna. So she takes one of these to her old colleague and former boyfriend, Dr. Alan Grant. So now I was like, yes, Ellie's back. Now I'm like, Dr. Grant's back. Like, I didn't think I was so attached to these characters until I saw movies that didn't have them in them. And I'm like, yeah, they really need those guys back. He tells her it's a Cretaceous era insect. That's when they know somebody else is, again, monkeying around with DNA from the past, right? We also find out that she's divorced from her husband, Mark, who you might remember from Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah. All right, so guys, I just want to interject here. As we're going along, it's like, okay, so she needs help. She gets her old buddy who's on a dig site with a bunch of teenagers. She's like, why are we even bothering? Because these aren't real dinosaurs. Real dinosaurs they're out there in the world. And he's just like, it's like hidden life. And she shows up and he's like, you're probably not going to want to help me. I know you really love it here. He's like, well, actually, he already has the hat, right? He was already a little Indiana Jonesy. It's like we got the gang back together. It felt like even just the very first time when I was watching Return of the Jedi, I'm like, they have all my old favorite characters together. Yep. I feel like I'm being pandered to, and I like it. So I'm already loving this. I'm like, yeah, bring me more of this.
So Franklin is now working for the CIA, part of their dangerous species division.
Yeah.
When Claire and Owen go to him, he reveals that he thinks that she's probably been taken to Malta because that's where there's this dinosaur black market. They go there and all hell breaks loose, or all dinosaurs break loose, as the case may be.
Oh my God, yeah. Malta again. This has all the feeling of like Indiana Jones. It's got chase sequences. Literally, am I wrong? Am I remembering this right? It has like a 3-wheeled cart, but at one point where there's a chase sequence involving that. Yeah,
and there's a bush pilot who gets them there.
Yes.
Watts.
Oh my God. There's okay. So yeah, the bush pilot, totally new character. She's super cool. If anything, verging on too cool, but like. I think they pull it back, and yeah, they give her enough motivation, enough backstory And that's all. And then they go from there. And they're like, okay, why is she doing all this for them, even though she's like, this hard-bitten person in the underworld? We get enough reasons and go from there.
Just the fact that this movie has two plot lines running side by side, to me, is something I really like about it that we don't get in a lot of the previous films. So we've got the Maisie plot line going on one hand, and on the other hand, we've got the Ellie Sattler and Alan Grant investigating crops plot line.
Yeah.
And these two are going to converge eventually.
And you know what? So based on your production notes, Grant and Sandler would have probably have been in Malta, and that would have converged there if it hadn't been for all the upsets, with in production. As it turns out, they didn't need to have them there. Instead, you had, you have Owen and I can't remember her name, Opie's kid. You have them, and it's kind of ridiculous that they're there, but it's awesome because everything goes sideways, and you get chases with the dinosaurs. Oh, and this is where we get to see the character from the animated series as the villain of this particular part of it, and she's awesome. When we get Owen's old buddy, the French guy, or I guess he's French, Haitian. Anyway, I didn't know I wanted this, but I do, and it's awesome. It's kind of like a kung fu movie where you're like, why is everybody using kung fu? We have guns, but everybody's just using dinosaurs as their weapons, and they're doing that. But that's because it's a dinosaur movie. That's why, and that's okay. We're gonna do what we do because we like it, and it's awesome.
The other thing that I think was awesome is when we cut back to the Biosyn facility, Grant and Statler find Ian Malcolm's there.
Yeah.
And he's working for them, and they're all like, how could you do this? It's like, and at this point he's like, basically, I warned you guys like too many times and nobody ever listened to me. So basically, he's basically at the point where he's like, yeah, what do you want from me?
Yeah. So it's great because at first you're like, what is wrong with you? And then you're like, oh wait, he's playing two sides of this. You find that out later, but like, I love it when he's in the middle of a lecture telling them, people are idiots. You're doing it again. You're messing with things you shouldn't. And then he notices that his old friends are there, and he just says some random like influencer, science influencer bullshit, and everybody claps. He's like, okay, bye. Yeah, he just switches over to absolute bullshit. It's like, that was awesome because he knows you guys will just eat this shit up. There's this underlying tension like there always has been where he's like, hey, what's up? And I mean, let's face it, we have a man who as an actor has a notorious, how can I put this man had a lot of charisma, and he's always hooking up with his leading ladies. That's the joke about him anyway. But so you get to have the sort of like, Alan's like, they're like, all right, maybe I could still rekindle this romance. And that is not even what's going on with, Ian. He's concerned about what's actually happening here.
Yeah.
As is Alan, but Alan's definitely like, missed my chance with her. Maybe I get another chance. But you know what? They never let any of this stuff slow anything down. It's just boom, boom.
Yeah, and there's still dino battles going on. So they're like the Giganosaurus and the T-Rex face off for round 2 in this, which could have been Dino Battle of the Week, but still not Dino Battle of the Week.
Right.
Because there's more to come. But also I like some of the interactions between the humans. Like at one point they're talking about like the fences and like, do you know how much voltage the fences at Jurassic Park had? And Alan Grant's like, yes. Ian Malcolm has another great line too, where he's like, it's always darkest before eternal nothingness.
So we have this whole thing. We have them flying in. We have last minute get on the airplane, just barely in time. I mean, I'm going to just go back to this. It feels super Indiana Jones. We have them trying to fly in, make an excuse to land there at the airport they have in the Secret Valley. And what do we have? We have our evil industrialist. He's a visionary, but no, of course, he's up to no good, and he's behind the whole plot.
Well, here's one of the biggest flaws of the film, the villain's plan, ... because it's never really clear to me, and I may have missed this. They seem to indicate that this was a mistake that they made and somehow escaped into the real world, the locust thing. like they made a mistake and it's going to collapse agriculture and the food supply all over the planet. But also, then there's the whole part about like they don't attack the biosyn crops, so that seems intentional. So I'm wondering what happened here. Was their plan to deliberately crash the food supply, except so you have to plant biosyn crops, or was that a mistake? And if it was a mistake, then why does their crops are not affected by it?
I think it was purposely. I mean, there's no real reason for him to sit there and be like, "Yes, I planned this the whole time." Instead, he spins it as like, "Well, we made a mistake, but we don't own up to our mistakes. We bury them. We're going to erase this, but it was just a mistake. It's no big, you know." And you see that he's still manipulating, well, the intelligentsia that he has around him, who are doing the actual engineering, etc. He's still manipulating and controlling them. He's still not admitting to it being like, if we're doing anything wrong. He's like, yeah, mistakes were made, but it's okay because we'll just make it right. It's all about control. You're never going to give up control no matter what, no matter how bad you screw up. We do get a redemption arc for our long running scientist who gets a chance to actually give up control, be honest, and make things right.
Are you talking about Dr. Wu?
Yeah.
This is another one of Ian Malcolm's best lines where like he finally comes and finds Dr. Wu there and he's like, that guy, it's always him.
That's right.
Which I thought was awesome because it is always him, you know.
All right, so this movie is also, it's filled with retcons where they wedge entire characters in that you didn't know existed, like Maisie's mom.
Yeah, Maisie's origin story is finally told.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great because it's like, remember, we talked about that in the other one. It's like, what exactly happened there?
Right. I mean, I was speculating, well, maybe her nanny is actually her mom, and she's no stuff. So yeah, no, the story is not what we thought it was. But what I like about I guess I'll call them the retcons, or where they go back, is that it doesn't contradict anything that we had absolute evidence of one way or the other. It contradicts the stories we thought maybe were true. It fills in the gaps, and I'm loving it. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but like this pushed all these nostalgia buttons, and it delivered over and over again on like, you're doing cool stuff. Almost all of it was stuff I have seen before in a Spielberg or a Lucas movie, like almost all of it.
Aside from the plot with the agriculture and what exactly went wrong there, and one scene where they managed to call all the dinosaurs in somehow, I'm not sure how that worked. But other than those two things, I don't have a lot of complaints about this film. This film, it was not critically acclaimed as much as previous films, and it is considered by audiences, a lot of people consider this the worst film in the Jurassic Park series, the entire series. And I gotta disagree with that.
Oh, no way.
It's got one of the lowest ratings on rating sites and stuff like that. And I don't get it because to me, the original Jurassic Park film series got worse with each film. The first one was the best. The second one was not as good as that. And the third one was not as good as that. In my opinion, this Jurassic World trilogy goes the other direction. The first one, Jurassic World, was the weakest.
Yeah.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was a little bit better. And Jurassic World Dominion is the best. And in fact, one of the best in the whole series.
I'm going to say it's my second favorite. I'm just going to say it right now. It's like, oh, wow. And you know why? In a lot of ways, it reads as it's like, this is a sequel to the very first Jurassic film, and also to the entirety of Spielberg's and Lucas's work. It's just,
and I can't go any further without mentioning the Gigantosaurus and the T-Rex, who battle back in time. And in the first battle, the T-Rex dies, and then they battle again, and the Gigantosaurus wins again, and then they finally get round three, our actual Dino Battle of the Week. The Gigantosaurus, when it's about to attack them, and then suddenly the T-Rex, who, let's face it, is the real hero of the Jurassic Park films,
yes,
or heroine because it's a she, comes to their aid and eventually triumphs. And we get like that roar, like at the end of the original Jurassic Park film, where you got to have the roar.
Okay, but wait. Let's remember, to her Batman, there's like a robin, Mr. Blade Fingers, whatever that thing is.
Yes, I don't know what kind of a dinosaur that is. I think it's called a Therizinosaurus. It's a dinosaur that has big, long claws.
I recognized it as something real that they have discovered, but it looks totally made up. I'm like, there's no way something like that, but it totally did. It's ridiculous. It's like, hey, what if Wolverine's claws were like, I don't know, 2 meters long or something? Yeah, let's do that. That's crazy, but fun. And
yeah. So yes, once again, Therizinosaurus is a real dinosaur. So these are all real dinosaurs. Quetzalcoatlus that attacked the plane earlier in this.
Oh, that was awesome.
These are all real dinosaurs. That was the winner of our Dino Battle of the Week, though, was the T-Rex, aided by the Therizinosaurus. This is the near future. Let's look at something that supposedly takes place in the far future. Over the past few episodes, we've mentioned Love, Death, and Robots a whole bunch of times. Just recently, a new season has dropped, and it's got the Screaming of the Tyrannosaur. Episode 7 of Volume 4 of Love, Death, and Robots. In the far future, human society is like celebrating a royal wedding between nobles from different moons of Jupiter. And they have what is reminiscent of Larry Niven's Ringworld.
Yeah, I think it's very fair, yeah.
But it's actually a big arena. The MC introduces the entertainment by saying, those who are about to die, we salute you, which is a slightly changed version of the traditional gladiator phrase, which we mentioned happened to be the title of one of the Jurassic Park Chaos Theory episodes that we watched. See how this all ties together? There's a bunch of different gladiators. One is the main protagonist, May. First, they have to outrun a stampede of triceratops that come charging out. Then they actually mount on the triceratops, dune giant worm style,
Yeah.
And then they have to fight each other. And then once that's over with, once it's down to just her, she's the last one that survives, then they release the Tyrannosaurus. And so we get the classic dino on dino battle here of Triceratops versus Tyrannosaur. And with all of these deaths, the gladiators kill each other, but they respect each other. At one point, she actually kisses another one of the gladiators.
Oh yeah, it's implied that they are partners. That's and she didn't kill that one. She did defeat them.
Also with the dinosaurs, it's like she kills them, but they sort of honor the dead of the dinosaurs. And at the end, she switches from the Triceratops to the Tyrannosaur, and in something worthy of Primal,
yes,
the rider and the Tyrannosaur,
hell yeah,
after the royal overlords or the whatever they are, the dystopian Hunger Games type people that are making them fight.
Yeah,
it channels that same sort of energy that you get from Hunger Games, where they turn on the people running the games.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. The last one, she defeated her without killing her, but they cut loose the T-Rex, who did kill that partner. And then after she defeated the T-Rex with the Triceratops, this was just so like a Moss proposal style, Jonathan Swift thing, where they send down machines to suck the blood from the T-Rex, and then they're drinking goblets of its blood to fuel and celebrate their power. It's like, yeah, you want these people dead so bad. So when she turns to the T-Rex and unites with it to kill them, it's like, hell yeah, lovely. Becca didn't like it so much. She said it was so hard to watch because I'm like, you knew what was going to happen in a way. You're like, if they had ended it with just like, yeah, you served your purpose and now you're extinguished or something, it would have been a real bummer. But no, turning the tables on the oppressors, awesome.
I've said before, this is not for spouses. I do not choose these movies for people to watch with their kids or their spouses or whatever. If you guys choose to do that, that's up to you. We started this thing talking about animation and how I did not like the human character modeling in the Jurassic World Netflix series. This is an example where I think both the dinosaur models and the human models, the character models, were great.
I wouldn't even say that because they are more like photorealistic. They're not necessarily. As a matter of fact, they have a very stylized look to them in a lot of ways. that definitely they brought a level of seriousness that I wasn't feeling from the, even though I enjoyed the plot lines on the Jurassic Park animations, it didn't, I don't know, it just felt goofy, right?
Yeah, it was kind of cartoony. There's something about it that's like, if we give them big heads and small bodies, that's what kids have. And kids don't have that,
No.
like that's not like how kids look.
Well, okay, look, when you look at Astro Boy, okay, so Astro Boy is he's like that. But when you think, if you know the Astro Boy plot, for example, it's pretty dark. And so it's a weird contrast.
Well, you have kids in Johnny Quest, but they don't look like that.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was going to be the reprieve. This one was going to be the reprieve from yet another movie that was not. But you know what? I was wrong. It was just a nice cherry on top of an awesome movie that I really enjoyed. So
yeah, and this pretty much closes out our look at dinosaurs. We're gonna watch the new Jurassic World Rebirth when that comes out. But other than that, we've come. This has all led us to this point. So you can't really say we ended on a low note.
No,
like
no, not at all.
There was a journey that started out way back when, last year actually, that has brought us all this way. There's standout moments. I like some of the detours we made along the way. Turok stands out in my mind.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah,
a good highlight right there. But I also enjoyed 1 million years BC and stuff like that. So
yeah, there were some where it's like, wow, that was a little rough, but like, can't all be winners. I mean, if they were all winners, why would you even bother reviewing anything? Because you just be like, well, everything's good.
I used to write book reviews, and like I would write book reviews of books and comic books and stuff like that weren't good. And people, after I did 2 or 3, they're like, why do you keep reading stuff you don't like? And I'm like, what kind of a reviewer would I be if I only reviewed the good stuff and didn't tell you what is not good and don't watch this, know?
Exactly.
Exactly. I think that about wraps it up here for today. And I want to say, if you like the show, whatever platform you get it on, give it a good review. Give us a 4 or 5 star review if you think we deserve that. Rating and review and thumbs up, or whatever the platform has to indicate that you like it. Subscribe to it so that you catch all of these when they come out. We come out usually on the 8th, the 18th, and the 28th, every date with an 8, because we're Geek Channel 8.
Oh, is that what that is?
If you want to reach us, tell us something, you can email us at GC8podcast. That's letter G, letter C, number 8, podcast@gmail.com. Until next time, this is Eric.
And this is Will.
Signing off.
So yeah, I'll go a long way for some good pig.